Hello, and welcome to the AccuBuild Fiscal Year-End presentation. All detailed information covered in this presentation is available with step-by-step instructions included in the AccuBuild Fiscal Year-End notes. Emails were sent to AccuBuild clients on December 20th with links to the documentation. If you are viewing this presentation from AccuBuild University, you can access these notes from www.accubuild.com/support. There are two additional presentations that go along with this one, each covering the close of the payroll year and printing tax forms. In this presentation, we are going to review all of the steps necessary to close the fiscal year. A reminder first, the fiscal year does not have to be closed before posting transactions for the new year. This diagram shows the full process of closing the fiscal year end. We'll cover each of these in detail, but I want to call out the white diamond icon, which represents a decision point. Later in the presentation, I'll refer back to this again. The first step in closing the fiscal year is to run integrity tests. You'll run the tests in each module on all master and transaction files. The tests will look for any data errors or corrupted files. In each module, you'll navigate to Integrity Tests, All Tests. If by any chance you receive any errors, please contact AB Support for assistance in resolving the errors. Also, the system will automatically run these tests again as part of the close process, so you'll want to allot enough time for this entire process. Depending on the number of files, which may be large, job cost for example, the tests may take a long period of time to complete. Next, you'll perform the month-end, year-end reconciliation. We've included a worksheet checklist of the steps for reconciliation in this fiscal year-end notes document. We recommend that you save the suggested reports in PDF format as a reference point. Some of these reports have a prompt for a cutoff date, in other words, as of a specific date. Once you close the fiscal year, you won't be able to run these reports for a prior year. We recommend making a data backup before proceeding further. Be aware that all users must exit AccuBuild before the backup process can be started. You can use this backup to restore in a new company where you can print reports for the prior year, where date ranges and cutoff dates are important. In a few minutes, we'll jump into the software and show how to perform this step. Earlier, I called out the white diamond icon in this slide. First, we're going to discuss the additional step you'll need to perform in order to close the fiscal year if you are not closing the month end every month. If you are not closing monthly, you'll need to navigate to File, System Administrator, Configuration, and click on the Accounting tab. Do not change the fiscal year end, only the system cutoff date. Update the system cutoff date to match the first day of the last month of your fiscal year end. On the next slide, we'll look at some examples. Be sure that the Enable Prior Period Transactions checkbox is not marked. If you would like more information about closing on a monthly basis, please contact customer support. If your fiscal year end is any other month but December, you'll also need to temporarily change the payroll cutoff date. For anyone who is closing AccuBuild on a monthly basis, and you do not have a December year-end, you'll also need to do this step. In this example, we show how the payroll cutoff date is different when you have a fiscal year-end date of December 31st versus any other month. With a calendar year-end date, you do not have to change the payroll cutoff date. In all of these other examples, you can see where we have changed the payroll cutoff date to match the system cutoff date. Be sure to revert back to your current payroll date after closing the fiscal year end. Now it's time to actually close the month, whether your fiscal year end is December or any other month. You will navigate to File, System Administrator, Month End. AccuBuild will compare the system cutoff date with the fiscal year end, and if they are in the same month, then the fiscal year-end process will begin. First, the integrity tests will be run again. Remember that if you have large data files, for example in job cost, this may take a long time. No one can be in the system at the time these tests are run, so you may want to perform this step during off hours. Do not attempt to close the system even if you think the system has stopped working. After completing all of the data integrity tests, the system will proceed with closing the fiscal year. There are quite a number of steps involved, which include the following. The system will automatically create a backup. Each module will be closed. The net profit or loss from the prior year will be rolled into the retained earnings account, as well as the profit and loss accounts will be reset to 0. Jobs in the job cost module will be updated with prior year balances. And lastly, the system configuration dates will be updated. Once the system is done with the closing process, there are some additional steps you'll want to perform. We suggest that you print a trial balance to confirm that all of your income statement accounts show a 0 beginning balance. Also, confirm that the retained earnings account was updated with the prior year's net income amount. One additional maintenance task that you might want to perform is updating any completed jobs from the prior year. By marking these jobs as other, when you run the completed job schedule, they won't print, unless you choose to change the filter to include jobs with a job type of other. Lastly, if you had to adjust your payroll cutoff date, you'll want to go back into configuration to restore to the correct date. Let's look at the following steps in AccuBuild. Running the integrity tests, backing up your data, closing the month end, and printing a trial balance. We're going to run the integrity tests for accounts payable. Click on Payables, Integrity Tests, All Tests. Click on OK to start the process. The window will show all of the tests run in this module and will show you that the tests are completed. Click Close to close this window and proceed to the next module. We'll look at running a backup of your AccuBuild data. Click on File, Backup Data. You'll receive a cautionary message about using this backup tool as your primary backup method. We highly recommend that you use an automated backup system, as this method will create a compressed zip file of your data only and does not include all program files necessary to run the software if needed due to a fatal crash. Click on OK to proceed. The backup routine copies all the files and names the file with the current date, i.e. December31.zip. The default storage location of the file is your company directory, but you can change the default file name and the location by clicking the Change Backup File button. We recommend clicking on the box to include the subdirectory folders. These are user folders with temporary and unposted files. Click OK to proceed. The next process we'll see is the month-end closing. Navigate to File, System Administration, Month-end. You may get an error message if any other users are in the system. Ask them to exit if you are ready to proceed. Click on the button Start Month-end Closeout Process. We won't run it now as it will take a considerable amount of time. You'll be updated on the process in the bottom half of the window. Click Close once the month-end process is complete. The last process we'll look at in this video is printing a trial balance. Remember that we canceled the month-end closeout process, so the statement that prints will still reflect a December 31 date. Go to Ledger, General Ledger Reports, Trial Balance, Current Year. You can choose to print to the screen and then to a PDF, or click on Printer. Be sure to confirm that your income statements accounts all have a beginning balance of 0. Let's discuss reopening a fiscal year. We highly recommend that you never open a prior year. Instead, if you need to print reports from a prior year, especially one that has specific date ranges, use the backup that you created before closing the fiscal year. You can restore this backup into a new company folder used exclusively for printing reports. But what if you accidentally close the fiscal year? You have two options to restore everything. Option 1, hopefully you haven't entered any data yet, or you determine that you'll just rekey any entries already made. We recommend you back up your data, then restore the fiscal year zip file. Navigate to File, Restore Data, and follow the instructions. If you have any problems, contact customer support. Then rekey any data that was lost in the restore process. Option 2, if data has been entered, say for several days or multiple weeks, you can manually change the dates in the configuration settings. But this will mean that you have additional steps to bring your data into line. You'll need to run the following job cost integrity reports. Update Job Master, update billing totals, update prior year's revenue. Once the job cost integrity tests are done, you'll want to go to the chart of accounts in Ledger and edit each balance sheet account with the prior year's fiscal balance. Then run the integrity test for GL Master totals. Lastly, you'll run a trial balance to confirm the accuracy of your account balances. Now, let's say that you received some adjusting entries from your CPA after you closed the fiscal year end. These are called post-closing journal entries. In order to create a post-closing journal entry, first you will need to change a setting in configuration. Go to System Administrator, Configuration, and on the Accounting tab, mark the checkbox for Allow Prior Period Transactions. Creating a post-closing journal entry is the same as creating a general journal entry. However, you'll want to do the following. Use the last day of the previous fiscal year for your journal entry. Enter your transactions only to balance sheet accounts. If you have any adjustments that were associated with income statement accounts, then that portion of the entry will be made against the retained earnings account. Lastly, you'll need to go back to System Administrator, Configuration, and on the Accounting tab, unmark the checkbox for Allow Prior Period Transactions. This concludes this AccuBuild presentation on closing the fiscal year end. Thank you for watching. If you have any problems or questions, please contact us at 1-800-728-6853 or steam@accubuild.com.